They turned the power off, didn't they, in Europe recently? And everyone had candles because the power had been switched off and all the systems fell into disuse. And I was thinking about that. Somebody sent out a meme, a hilarious meme, and it showed Spain and France had managed to find, had beaten Britain to net zero. And it just basically showed the outline of Spain and France completely black, whilst the rest of Europe was still alight, and Britain too. You know, we had electricity, in other words. And I thought about this because some people have said, oh, this is how they're going to control us, because we have the internet, we rely on it, we have the WhatsApp groups, we have the Telegram groups, we have all these sort of means of communicating. We've all become digital citizens, apparently. Not me, but many of us. And I thought, actually, I don't think this is going to happen. I don't think that they will cut the power. They might do for a couple of hours, just to be inconvenient, that sort of thing. But I don't think they're going to do it long term. And I'll tell you why. There are two reasons, really. One, well, let's go through them and see if I can remember them. The first one is that if they cut the power for any length of time, we start to realise just the pointlessness of the electric system that they want us to all be part of, especially the digital side of it. That if we're reliant on computers to log on to our government, whatever, gateways, access for paying bills, for example, we will also have problems going with the banks won't work, commerce will fall down across the board, including the very large companies, the big supermarkets, the big venture capitalists, the big banks. You know, they also need electricity to run all their systems. I mean, that it is our Achilles heel, is it not? And if you were a genuine terrorist, and has there ever been genuine terrorists? I don't know. I always wondered why terrorists would bother to put, you know, blow themselves up and all of that when they could quite easily dump a few packets of explosives around the pylons going into the city and cause huge amounts of disruption, or on the train tracks. But no, they just go and get on a Westminster Bridge or something and just blow themselves up. And what, life just goes on as normal. Except that, of course, all of that's a bit of fakery and a bit of drama as it is. We all know this. We all know that all of these things have been staged. But going back to the electricity, not only do they need it, but we would become more resourceful. We would start to think, actually, do you know what? Perhaps we better rely on analog systems then and move away from the digital system, that virtual reality that they want us all to be part of. That's what I think is the reason they couldn't afford to cut it. While we do rely on the internet and we do rely on the electricity, and they're pushing us ever more into electric cars and electric mechanisms, they rely on it just as much to turn the screw down on us. And I think that actually one of the best things would be is for them to cut the electricity, because we'd go back to a much more analog way. We would start heating our food up and heating our house up using basic elements like fire and being independent from the system. We wouldn't be able to be pushed down the analog, the digital route with everything on your phone. We'd go back to using cash, wouldn't we? We'd go back to talking to each other. The analog system, to me, seems a far healthier and autonomous system rather than all of this reliance on electricity for digital systems. So I don't think that'll ever happen here, other than just very short, sharp shocks, you know, to be a nuisance. However, another thing occurred to me, which I think we can use to our own advantage. based on electricity. So how about this? The government have announced that they are going to dim the sky because they're frightened of sunlight. And of course vampires are frightened of sunlight, and you can understand why the government, this particular government anyway, more than others, would be frightened of the light shining on them. And so they need to dim the sky and reflect that light back. You know, that's been the official thing. We know they've been doing this for over 40 years anyway, but now they've made this soft disclosure by saying, well, this is what we need to do. So if there's anybody out there who lives by the potential of a massive solar farm, and you don't want one of these massive solar farms in the wonderful agricultural fields, devastating nature, causing a blight on the landscape, and potentially all the EMFs and other things that go associated with this thing, you can now have the perfect excuse to say, what's the point? We don't need your solar farm, thanks very much, because you're going to be dimming the skies. And if you're dimming the skies, it doesn't take a dimbo to work out that actually the idea that you need swathes and swathes of solar panels that cannot get any sunlight, it becomes obsolete before it even starts. And so if I was campaigning against solar farms, this would be a great thing to use. It is an own goal for the government. So perhaps get back in touch with Mr. Miliband and say, now you're dimming the skies and you're going to do this, perhaps you will just remove all the need for the solar panels. Thank you very much. I mean, that would be, you know, it is the government, an inept government, not really thinking it through. One policy, green agenda. Second policy, destroys the first policy. They are as mad as March hares. And as I said before, they clearly don't want the light shining on them. But it takes a bright light to understand and see through the nonsense that they continually push out. As I've said many times before, they have lost. It is only a matter of time, and we're seeing them now making complete fools of themselves all the time. So, yeah, that's my take on the electricity thing. The one thing about power cuts is it kind of reminds you that you can just stop and enjoy life. Because when the power is taken away from you, you have your own power to sit there and go, oh, well, I can't do anything. I'm not going to worry. I'm just going to sit and relax. I'm going to smoke my pipe and take it easy. Obviously, for those people who rely on certain health things, dialysis machines and things like that, obviously it is a good idea to have some backup. And perhaps that's what we should all be doing, is doing a little bit of prep, just in case everything I've said is a complete nonsense and the government have not thought it through, and they cut the power and say, we'll cut it for a month, and then find actually we thrive and they don't. Thank you for listening. Have a good day. I hope the sun is shining and the light is getting to you. I'll go and switch the power back on in a minute. Till next time, toodle pip.